Hey, it's Medium Jenny Lee. I'm here with some more of the Raw Contact Volume 1 discussion. Today we're going through sessions 3 and 4. Some real interesting stuff. And like I said in the beginning, probably have more questions than answers. So let's get into this here. All right, so session 2. Mind, body, spirit complex. That is what they're referring to us as. So us humans, they're referring to as a mind, body, spirit complex, which clearly suggests that the body and the spirit are separate things, which we know that, but that the mind also is something different, which we talk about that a lot, you know, like about how you have to get out of your mind sometimes because the mind can come up with a bunch of garbage, you know. So I think that's validation to us that have figured that out, that the mind is different than the body, which is different than the spirit. Okay. All right, next. Let's see. Thus, I would assure this group that my own social memory complex has one particular method of communicating with those few who may be able to harmonize their distortions with ours. So this was talking about how they can communicate. So particular method of communicating, because they can harmonize their own distortions with ours, suggesting that they too have distortions. So that got me thinking. A major, huge question, which we will not have an answer to, but perhaps somebody else might have some insight into this too. Okay, so this book is being written so that we can understand the law of one through this entity called Ra, who is a combination of all the souls of a particular place combined as one in this social memory complex, in what they refer to as the sixth density. And we are these individual little bits that have a hard time thinking of ourselves as one thing, even though we are, and we're in the third dimension, third density, according to Ra. But that's our reality. Oh, sorry. I get everybody motion sick. That's our reality, that we live in the fourth density, or we live in the third density, right? That's our reality. And the sixth density is Ra's reality, but there's all these other densities. There's infinite densities. So all the different things living in all those densities, that's their reality. And still, what is true? What is real? What's the real deal? Is there anything that's actually the real thing? Or is it all the real thing? You see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying here? Is what's real just what your reality is? Which some of that comes up later in the end of the fourth session. So we'll just continue. We'll continue. All right. Then Okay, so Don wants to know more about the history of Ra in our civilization on Earth. So they said 11,000 years ago for us, two of our cultures were close to, in touch with, the idea of this one creator. So that's what they're talking about when they say that the Ra came to the Egyptians and another social memory complex went to South America. And I thought this was interesting because it's like they regret it. It was our naive belief that we could teach, learn by direct contact, and the free will distortions of individual feeling or personality were in no danger. We thought of being disturbed as these cultures were already closely aligned with an all-embracing belief in the liveness or consciousness of all. So because these two cultures were already starting to lean in their spiritual beliefs toward what they saw as the true belief, the true thing, the law of one, they decided to make contact. Direct contact. And they thought it was going to be okay, but it wasn't. We attempted to aid them in technical ways having to do with healing of the mind-body-spirit complex distortions through the use of the crystal, appropriate to the distortion, placed within a certain approximate series of ratios of time-space material. Thus were the pyramids created. So that is a lot of words that are confusing. And from what I can understand is that, okay, well, there's a lot more about that in the next session. So I think I'll leave some of it to explain there. But the question that I had at that point was, if the material world of which we live in doesn't matter, it's not real, it's an illusion, then what does it matter? How can crystals placed in a certain way have any help over us if the material stuff doesn't matter? Which they go into that. But that was my question at this point of the reading. So, okay. So we found that the technology was reserved largely for those with a distortion of power. So basically they came there wanting to share this information with everybody. But of course, humans, being the greedy little shitbags that they are, they kept it for themselves. And they only allowed the people in power to have access to it. And that is when Ra decided it was time to go. But they're saying that the social memory complex that was in South America decided to stay, or they returned. They tried to help some more. But Ra says, we did not. They just got the hell out of there. Okay. But this is why they're still hanging around. However, we have never left your vibration due to our responsibility for the changes in consciousness we have caused, and then found distorted in ways not regulated to the law of one. We attempted to contact the rulers of the land to which we had come, that land which you call Egypt, or in some areas the Holy Land. In the 18th dynasty, as it is known in your records of space and time distortions, we made contact with a pharaoh. he was a wanderer. That word keeps coming up. And it's so weird because that's what my son uses as his internet handle. And I don't know. There's something weird about that. Okay, so he was able to receive their communication, and he was able to blend his distortions with their own. At that time, he was called Amun. Then he ends up changing his name to Aten, and then they refer to him as Akhenaten. So I would be interested to know, is this really a pharaoh of the 18th dynasty? We need to look this up. So if one of you guys look it up, let me know in the comments. Was that really a pharaoh from the 18th dynasty? Because that would back some of this information up, I think. He was completely convinced about the vibration of one and the law of one. But his priests, even though they would recite the information, didn't really believe in it. And once that pharaoh was gone, after he passed, everything went back to many gods. Until Muhammad. They're saying Muhammad was the next one that talks about the oneness, the one God. I'm not going to get into all the religions of the world right now and how they too have completely screwed up this idea of the law of one. That might be for another time. But, okay, so this is a common theme in a lot of sci-fi shows and movies, where an alien species makes contact with a primitive culture of beings on a different planet, and they, you know, that's the dilemma for the higher beings from the other planet. Do they contact the primitive people or do they not? And it's really funny because Frosty and I just started re-watching the Star Trek Discovery show. We started watching it when it first came out, and then I don't think we had, it wasn't available for us to watch anymore. So we just got the CBS, I think it's the CBS app or whatever, so that we could watch all the Star Trek stuff. And we just watched season 2, episode 1, and that's exactly what happens. Or was it that one? Okay, because we watched the first episode of the new Star Trek one, and now I'm confused. It was one of those two. So it was one of, it was an episode in one of the new Star Trek shows. It was either Discovery or the new one. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's with the Christopher Pike character, which takes place before Captain Kirk. In one of those episodes, they are trying not to make contact. It was the new one. It was the new one. It was the first episode of the new series. They're trying not to make contact with this a slightly less primitive, slightly less advanced culture on this other planet, but circumstances make it so that they have to go down and collect their people that have been abandoned there or taken in or held hostage or whatever. And they're trying really hard not to actually make contact with them, so they disguise themselves as the people that live on this planet so that they're not found out. But then it turns out that they have to make first contact with these people. And Captain Christopher Pike makes the decision that he's just going to have to tell them completely all about everything, because these people are about to completely destroy their whole planet with like a warp bomb, basically, which they got from them. They got the warp technology from the Earth spaceship, and instead of making something cool with it, they decided to make a bomb. They're going to blow each other up. So Christopher Pike goes against all the rules of the Confederation of Planets, and he's like, I'm gonna just tell them so that they don't blow themselves up, hopefully. So he does. And that's that planet's first contact. Well, now they're gonna have to like stay and help them, or somebody's gonna have to be in contact with them to help them through all this stuff. And that's exactly what has just happened in this book. Ra came to the Egyptians. Ra said, hey, this is the deal. This is the law of one. We're going to help you make this amazing structure that's going to help you heal your people's mind-body structure, mind-body-spirit complex. And of course, the humans screwed it up. Humans screwed it up, and then Ra was like, we're not going to help you anymore. But they felt an obligation to stick around to try to help people anyway, because they felt like they were responsible after the fact that they made contact. It's the same thing. It's a repeating theme within our sci-fi story culture. And here it is in this book saying that it really happened. Okay, so next, the crystal healing. Okay. They're saying that crystal healing is really a thing. And that's when I was like, well, how the hell do crystals matter if material things don't matter? But this is what they're saying. Okay. So, they're saying there are crystals which work upon the energies coming into the spiritual body. There are crystals which work upon the distortions from the spirit to the mind. I feel like I'm starting to understand distortions a little bit better, because I do understand the distortions between spirit and mind. There are crystals which balance the distortions between the mind and the body. I understand that too. All of these crystals are charged through purified channels. What was the last word? Without the relative crystallization of the healer working with the crystal will not be properly charged. So, yes, crystals do stuff. Crystals do stuff. But my question is, how do we know that we're using them in the right way? I don't know. So the other ingredient is proper alignment with the energy fields of the planet. So this is where my question starts to become answered, okay? It's because we have energy fields of our planet. So that means that the material does matter. Oh, the material does matter because we're on this planet that has specific energy fields. So they're saying that you can use the crystals as healing through specific alignments, them being properly charged through a healer, and they have to have appropriate ratios of shapes. And it'll help untangle and balance distortions, basically. So that's really cool. And then they're saying that, okay, the delicacy, shall we say, of the choosing of the crystal is very critical. And in truth, a crystalline structure such as a diamond or a ruby can be used by a purified channel, so a healer, who is filled with light and love of one in almost any application. So they're saying that the choosing of the crystal is important, but certain crystals can be used for almost anything. But they're saying that, they are saying this, that it takes initiation, and there have never been many to persevere to the extent of progressing through the various distortion leavings which initiate causes. Which initiation causes. That's confusing too, and I feel like they're basically saying you have to work through all your own crap and get rid of your distortions so that you are a pure channel between the light and love of the law of one. Or else it's not going to work as efficiently, is what I'm understanding. Okay, so then Dawn really wants to know about the pyramids. Dawn is super interested in the pyramids. Ra could give a crap less about the damn pyramids. Ra's like, this isn't important. I basically don't understand why you're wasting your time wanting to learn about this stuff. But if you really want to know about it, here it is. Okay, so the larger pyramids were built by our ability using the forces of one. So this gets really interesting and very confusing. Okay. First, to have a properly oriented place for initiation for those who wish to become purified or initiated channels of the law of one. So that was one of the purposes of the pyramids. A place for initiation where they can become pure so that they can channel the law of one. The second purpose, we wished then to carefully guide the initiates in developing a healing of the people whom they sought to aid in the planet and the planet itself. So it was charged by a crystal, and the initiate were designed to balance the incoming energy of the one creation and the many and multiple distortions of the planetary and mind, body, spirit. In this effort, we were able to continue work that brothers within the Confederation had effected through building of other crystal-bearing structures, and thus complete a ring, if you will, of these about the earth, as this instrument would have us vibrate its surface. So what they're saying is, between Ra and other social memory complexes from this confederation, they built crystal-bearing structures, pyramids, that completed a ring around the earth so that humans could get their shit together. Man, did we mess that up. Think how far ahead we would be right now if 11,000 years ago we would have just done what the hell they told us to do. So what they're saying is that between them and whoever it was that went to South America, they were able to build these crystal-bearing structures that would have helped us heal ourselves and move us forward in our progression toward the fourth density. All right. So, okay. So then Dawn asks if there's anything they can do to help Carla so that they can maximize her ability so that she doesn't get fatigued. And Ra goes into that the objects that they told them to use were not being used correctly, and she was still experiencing unnecessary distortions, which was causing fatigue. So then Ra tells them that before they start, they need to say these things. What is the law? The law is one. Why are we here? We seek the law of one. Why do we seek Ra? Ra is a humble messenger of the law of one. And then all of them together would say, rejoice then and purify this place in the law of one. Let no thought form enter the circle. We have walked about this instrument for the law of one. Thought forms. Thought forms. We have started figuring out thought forms. People in the paranormal field have started figuring out thought forms because they've been doing experiments to create thought forms. If you have not seen the episode of Kindred Spirits with Amy Bruni and Adam Berry, Zombie Boy, you need to go watch it. Just that episode. If you've never watched Kindred Spirits, or if you're not into ghost shows, go watch that episode, Zombie Boy. I think it's on season 3, maybe. I can't remember. They create a thought form just by talking about it, because they had gotten to the point in their research of ghosts and the paranormal that they had started to figure out that people's emotions, thoughts, stories, myths, made up history about a location was actually affecting the energy at that place. So they did an experiment to see if they could change or create an entity based on just talking about it. So they went into a room, and they had previously come up with all this false information about a spirit, a fake spirit. They made up a fake spirit. They came up with all this information about him, about his life, and then they went into the location and started talking about him like he existed. And then they went back and they started their investigation, and lo and behold, the entity, the spirit, starts answering questions like it was this fake spirit that they had just made up. Which is, you know, a scientist would say is not a proper experiment because whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it was a successful experiment in understanding thought forms. I thought. They made a spirit just out of nowhere, and they didn't spend that much time thinking about it or talking about it, and all of a sudden it was there and it was interacting with them. Thought forms. Okay. So they're saying, don't let any thought forms enter the circle that don't have to do with the law of one. So basically they're like saying, don't think about anything except for the law of one when you're getting ready to do this, is what I think anyway. Okay, so then they're saying the instrument, Carla, should be in trance, properly aligned to 20 degrees north by northwest, which they're saying is the direction from which the newer or new age distortions of light and love are coming from. 20 degrees north by northwest. So there, once again, material things are mattering. Sorry, I'm taking a sip. I was taking a sip of my coffee. And the page just done got messed up. Okay. So then they're telling them that they need to place a virgin chalice of water by her head and have the Bible, which is most closely aligned with the law of one, and one that she touches frequently, and incense and a virgin censer, have the Bible open to the Gospel of John chapter 1, and a white candle, and she should be wearing a white robe, and she should be covered and prone, and her eyes should be covered. Good Lord Almighty. But they did all of this because they said that it will ease her mind. It'll ease her mind distortions and improve her fatigue. Okay. They're also saying that the sun shouldn't be shining in the room, and they should start waking her up before they turn on any lights. So there's a lot of ritual going on here. And I don't think that it's a ritual that Ra thinks is necessary for communicating with it. It was a ritual set up that was necessary for Carla to feel at ease so that she could be the best channel for herself, because Carla was religious and she did study the Bible. And all of the things that they put by her head based on Ra's suggestions were to help her. So I think we can take from that we probably should do the things that help us become comfortable when we're doing this kind of work too. And that there's really no right or wrong to any of it. It's not like everybody has to have the Bible and the chalice and the incense and the blah, 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 and the blah, blah, blah. That was just for her. So I think that lesson we can take from that is that whatever makes you feel comfortable when you're doing some kind of spiritual work, whatever rituals you have set up, whatever items you find comfort in, whatever order, placement that you need to do those in, that's what you should do. Yeah? Yeah. Because that's what's going to make you more comfortable to do whatever it is that you do spiritually, whether it's medium work, tarot, healing, etc., etc., etc. And then when they're getting ready to leave this time, he says this word. What is that? Adune? Adone? I don't know. What is that? Does anybody know? That was the first time he had said that so far. Okay, now we're moving into session 3. Okay. We caution you to guard against those who are not wishing to serve above all else from taking part in the beginning or in lending their distortions of mind, body, spirit complex to any session, as we should then be able to properly blend our distortions with those of this instrument. So he's saying, don't let anybody in there don't let anybody into the channeling session that doesn't have the same values of trying to help other people or trying to understand the law of one, because they're just going to screw it up. It's going to make it so it's harder to blend. Okay, so then Ra's getting real picky, and Ra says that the incense is not at the 20 degrees north by northwest. So they spend all this time fixing it, right? And here's where I had really made the realization that all this stuff was just for Carla's sake. All right. Okay. We wish now to fulfill our teach, learning, honor, responsibility by answering what is asked. This only will suffice, for we cannot plumb the depths of the distortion complexes which infect your peoples. Oh, good Lord. Our distortions are so awful that now they're infecting us. Okay. The first question, therefore, is the capstone. We reiterate the unimportance of this type of data. So Dawn really is like, okay, we want to know more about the pyramids. And Ra, once again, is like, why do you want to know about this? This is so stupid. It's trivial. It's worthless. This is not the reason why we came here. We're not here to give you a history lesson on the frickin' pyramids, Dawn. But Ra goes ahead and tells him all about some of the information of the pyramids. So, originally, the Great Pyramid had a capstone of granite, and it was contrived for the crystalline properties and for the proper flow of your atmosphere via a type of what we would call chimney, which he goes into some more information about that because Dawn wants to know about the dang chimney. All right. So then it says, the granite one was taken off. See, here we go again. Humans thinking that they know everything or wanting to show their power. The freaking alien said that they should have a granite one on top, and the freaking pharaoh was like, nope, we're going to take that one off and we're going to put on a gold one because gold is more precious, yada, yada, yada. And that was after they had left. But they're saying it didn't change the properties. It just made it a royal place only. So then Dawn asks about the chimney. I'm sure Ra's getting real irritated. It was designed for airflow ducts, which there are all of these channels built into the sides of the pyramids, and nobody that's, you know, an archaeologist can figure out why they put these ducts in there, why they put these whatever channels of space into the sides of the pyramids. They cannot figure it out because still to this day, even though the Great Pyramid never had anything in it to prove that it was a burying place of a pharaoh, the freaking archaeologists will not give it up. They're still claiming that's what it was. Even there's never, ever, ever, not one single piece of evidence or item or anything or writing or hieroglyphics that showed that the Great Pyramid was used as a burying place. Now, lots of pyramids were used as burying places for pharaohs, but not the Great Pyramid. But they won't let it go. Well, here you go. They're saying they're built for airflow, to keep the atmosphere inside the pyramid fresh, because they're sending people in there to do stuff, which they're going to get to in a minute. Okay, so how were the blocks moved, Ra? I'm sure Ra's rolling their eyes. This gets really frickin' confusing, as you can see by my notes of question mark and question mark. All right. The energy is, though finite, quite large compared to the understanding distortion of your peoples. This is an obvious point well known to your peoples, but little considered. This energy is intelligent. It is hierarchical. I didn't say that right. Hierarchical? Whatever. You can read it. Much as your mind-body-spirit complex dwells within a hierarchy of vehicles and retains, therefore, the shell or shape or field and the intelligence of each ascending intelligent or balanced body, so does each atom of such a material as rock. What the hell did that just say? Okay, so what I think it's saying is that we have this energy, intelligent energy from source, from the one creator, whatever you want to call it, that lives inside our human shell. So does rock. Rocks also have a bit of the spirit in it. That is so exciting. Oh, look at all you cute little babies over there. I had heard that before. I'd heard people talk about it. And and there's the theory and concept that everything has some living bit of energy in it. But I didn't know how I feel about that. And I still don't really know how I feel about that. But I do know that as I've been working with crystals over this last year and a half, there is something about it. There's something about it. And so yeah, interesting. Okay. When one can speak to that intelligence, the finite energy of the physical or chemical rock body is put into contact with the infinite power, which is resident in the more well-tuned bodies, be they human or rock. So the finite energy is physical, the infinite power is our spirit. Okay. With this connection made, a request may be given. The intelligence of the infinite rockness. I love that Ra adds ness to the ends of words. There's like a lot of them like this. And I feel like that's exactly how I like to explain things. The intelligence of infinite rockness. Oh, God. Okay. Communicates to its physical vehicle. So basically they're saying the bit of spirit from the one creator talks to the physical vehicle and allows it to do shit that we would not think that it could do because of our social mind distortions. And that splitting of moving, which is desired, is then carried out through the displacement of the energy field of rockness from finite to a dimension which we may conveniently call simply infinity. So basically, I think that the rock can break itself down and then re-put itself back together where you want it to be. Is what it sounds like. So it's not like a levitation even, which, you know, a lot of people are starting to question whether the rocks were levitated into place. You know, the ancient alien theorists or astronaut, whatever the heck they call themselves. Ancient alien astronaut theorists or whatever. They think that aliens levitated them into place. Ra, I think here is saying that the rock could completely disintegrate into its basic atoms or whatever, and then go put itself back together where they wanted it to go. That's what it sounds like to me. So it's a cooperation of the infinite understanding of the creator indwelling in the living rock. So basically you're not talking, you wouldn't be talking to the actual, you're not saying, hey rock, move. You're talking to the infinite creator source inside of the rock. And you're saying, hey, little spirit inside of this beautiful quartz, I need you to move there. And it would take itself apart and put itself back together somewhere else, is what I'm understanding. Let me know if you understand it a different way, because as you can see, all of that was really confusing. Okay. The vibration distortion of sound faith is perhaps one of the stumbling blocks between those of what you may call the infinite path and those of the finite proving understanding. So basically Dawn asks, is it a mind over matter thing? Which I think his question was already wrong. Because it wouldn't be a mind over matter thing, it's a spirit over matter thing. But Dawn is also asking, if you had enough faith in it, does that mean that you can make a mountain move? And Ra is saying that the word faith in itself is like a distortion. So he says, you are precisely correct in your understanding of the congruency of faith and intelligent infinity. However, one is a spiritual term, and the other more acceptable perhaps to the conceptual framework distortions of those who seek with measure and pen. So I was confused about that one. Is he saying that faith is something that's measurable, or intelligent infinity is something that's measurable? If it's infinite, then it can't be measured. So maybe he's talking about faith. Maybe faith is what he's referring to that can be measured. So it's not a matter of believing, it's a matter of that everything has this intelligent infinity inside of it, even the rocks. Okay. So then he's talking about individual power versus a social memory complex. In the first case, only the one individual, purified of any flaws, can move a mountain. In the case of mass understanding of unity, each individual may contain an acceptable amount of distortion, yet the mass mind can move mountains. So I think this goes to, okay. So once again, I'm not a religious person, never have been, but I do know that when people ask for prayer requests, and it is, you know, it's open to people of faith and people of not of the same faith, but everybody joins in and either gives good vibes, good thoughts, actually really prays to their God or whatever, that they can really change some major stuff. And I think that's what this is saying, that, you know, one person that's completely pure and completely understands the law of one and completely understands this idea of intelligent infinity can manipulate it in what seems like unbelievable ways. But that a whole bunch of people, even if they don't completely agree with each other, or they don't completely understand everything, or they don't completely see eye to eye, if they have the same intention set behind them, that they can do the same unbelievable, unimaginable things. Which I had thought about that already, you know. I had thought about the fact that as a group, as groups, we can do more than just one person. But I never thought, you know, I never thought about this distortion thing. So that's kind of interesting. Okay. So the pyramids, which we thought built, were constructed from thought forms created by our social memory complex. And then he goes on to say that the Great Pyramid was built with something called everlasting rock, and that the other pyramids were moved using moving one stone from one place to another. So they're saying that Ra built the everlasting rock of the Great Pyramid. And then Dawn asks, well, what the heck's everlasting rock? And Ra says it's thought form. It's thought forms. And then Dawn is like, well, if it was made from thought forms, why didn't you just make it all one piece of rock instead of making it all these blocks of rock? And Ra's basically like, because then you guys would have been confused. There is a law which we believe to be one of the more significant primal distortions of the law of one. That is the law of confusion, also known as the law of free will. The law of free will is also known as the law of confusion. I can't take it. I just can't take it. Can't take it, people. That is hilarious. I don't even know what to say about that. But yeah, Ra's basically like, if we would have made it out of one giant piece of stone, then you guys would have been even more confused than you already are. So we made it an illusion. We created an illusion that it was built one block at a time. But here he says, it says, we wish to make a healing machine or time-space ratio complex. We did not desire to allow the mystery to be perpetrated, that we be worshipped as builders. Thus it appears to be made, not thought. It appears to be made, but not thought. Because they didn't want to be viewed, they didn't want to be viewed as gods. They didn't want to be worshipped. And then here it mentions the word intent, which, you know, I just mentioned the intention of the thought. I've really gotten into intentions lately and how important they are. So I just love the fact that the word intent came up here. Okay. To use the healing aspects properly, it is important to have a purified and dedicated channel or energizer for the light love of the infinite creator to flow through. Thus, the initiatory method was necessary to prepare the mind, the body, and the spirit for the service of the creator's work, and the two are integral. So your mind your body and your spirit all need to be in alignment with each other to do this work. Before the body can be initiated, the mind must be initiated. Before the body can be used as a channel, the mind has to be initiated. When the character and personality that is the true identity of the mind can be discovered, the body then must be known in each and every way. So you have to know your true identity. Then you got to know your body. Then the various function of the body need understanding and control with detachment. With detachment. The first use of the pyramid then is the going down into the pyramid for the purpose of deprivation of sensory input, so the body may, in a sense, be dead and another life begin. Okay. I know that there's a lot of other people out there, and whoever, I think Edgar Cayce even had some ideas about what the pyramids are really used for. And when I read Graham Hancock's Fingerprints of the Gods, which I remembered what it's called today, there's a part where he gets to go into the Great Pyramid, and there's this little, I don't know what to call it, like an enclosure that's open on top, where the archaeologists claim that that's where the tomb of the pharaoh would have been, even though there was never, ever, ever anything in there to suggest that that's what it was. So somehow Graham Hancock gets the opportunity to go in there, and he lays down in it, and he compares it to laying inside of like a musical instrument, like an organ or something, because all of those channels that bring the air in from the outside, it's like there's some way that it's all like funneling into this location. And as I was reading that, I had this revelation of knowing that this was the place where people would go, and I need to change my words, because that is not what I thought. I thought this is the place where the pharaoh would go, and he would spend days in there so that he would be able to deprive himself of his senses and get closer to spirit, so that he could enter the world of the dead. But not because he's dead, but because he's like his spirit's leaving his body to enter the spirit world. And I thought it was for the pharaohs to do, or the priests of the pharaohs. But Ra is saying that they wanted everybody to be able to do that. That everybody should have been able to use this space to deprive their physical body of their senses so that they could reach a higher enlightened sense of spirit. So that's really crazy. Really craziness. Crazy. All right. We're almost done with this session. I realize this one has gotten particularly long. Okay. So then, before they end this session, Dawn asks, is there anything else we can do to make Carla more comfortable, and so that these sessions can last longer, or that she doesn't get fatigued? And Ra's basically like, you know, her neck needs some more support. Me too. Because whenever I do trance where I'm trying to like really let a spirit come in more than I do during the spirit art, my neck is always the first thing that bothers me. And it's because I'm sitting up when I'm doing it. And I have to tell the spirit, please fix my neck, because it'll either fall backwards or it'll fall forwards, and it'll start hurting immediately. So Carla, I feel you, girl. I feel you with the neck thing. Okay. And then this last little part, Dawn asks, should, you know, the session before, Ross had to give her some water that's been infused with love. Well, then they use a chalice of water as part of one of her items that's above her head, and he asks Ra, can we use that water for her to drink? And this is what he says: that and only that chalice shall be the most beneficial, as the virgin material living in the chalice accepts, retains, and responds to the love vibration accepted by your beingness. So here Ra is saying that even the frickin' chalice has some spirit intelligence in it. Man, that is weird. But I guess if every single thing that is created, whether it's a frickin' shoe or an animal or a human, it's part of that thought form, right? It's part of that original thought. And if it's been created by the original thought, then it has to have some of the thought in it. Which I think the Native American cultures really understood that, because they definitely thought of everything as having a spirit. And I'm sure that there's other cultures. That's just the one that I'm thinking of right now. But man. Okay, so that was a lot of information, a lot of stuff to process, a lot of things to watch. This video is almost an hour long. I'm so sorry. Please don't forget, I would like for this to be a discussion. So if you're watching and you have any thoughts, any feelings, any knowingness, any questions, put them down in the comments, and we can all talk about this together, because it's a lot to process and it's a lot to think about, and it can be very mind altering if you let it. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to give this a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, don't forget there are other discussions that are previous to this one, and there's going to be more discussions to come afterwards. And the whole reason why that we're going down this journey is because there's 2 videos called First Contact and Second Contact. They're highlights from Twitch of where we are contacted by an entity called Ra. So if you're interested in watching those too, I think I need to go back and watch them, because I feel like there's information in it that I wasn't paying attention to. So I'll probably need to go back and watch them myself. Anyway, thanks for watching again, and can't wait to see your comments about this one. See you later. Bye!